Well, good Wednesday afternoon. It's October 14th, I think. And sad news, my little Tikka, my favorite chicken, my Buff Orpington that always sits on my lap and follows me around, she passed away yesterday morning. She was very old and has been declining for the last couple of months, and I've been watching her and doing what I can to make her life as comfortable as I could, but she ended up passing away quietly. I found her in the coop on the floor the day before yesterday in the afternoon, and I thought she'd already passed, but she was just kind of weak and cold because the temperatures have been getting really cold in the mornings. So I brought her in the house and I made her comfortable where she could be warm, and I hydrated her and she perked up a little bit. I held her for a few hours, just the way she always liked to take a nap on my lap, and so I let her do that. And then I had to work, so I made her comfortable, gave her a last little bit of hydration and some honey water, and she seemed to be okay, but she was just kind of resting. And when I came home in the morning, she had passed, and it looked like she passed pretty peacefully. So yesterday afternoon, before I left for work again, I buried her in the garden in the patch where I have planted my rosemary. So I'll look at that. I have to water it today. I didn't water it in yesterday. I just kind of put it in, but that's my ARP rosemary. ARP rosemary is the kind that does really well, or does okay, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'll find out. In our Mountain West climate, and I ordered it and was getting ready to put it in anyway, so that worked out to where she's got a nice quiet resting place. I feel really good about having her there. But yeah, she's passed, and yeah, I don't know if I'll find another chicken that is as affectionate as her. She was held a lot. For those of you that don't know Tikka's story, when she was a new chicken, she wasn't particularly more social than any of the other new chickens. She was in our very first group of chickens. We got 8 chickens, 3 of whom ended up being roosters. One of the hens ended up being a meat chicken. One of the roosters was a meat chicken. So we ended up left over with just Tikka, Mochi, who's and Nia, who are both leghorns, Chief, who is a Easter egger. Who else was in that group? Can't remember. But yeah, we ended up with just a few, and slowly over the years I've added, but you know, that first group was kind of special, and we held them a lot and socialized them a lot. But Tikka, she was kind of aloof. She didn't really, everybody claimed one of the chickens when we first got them, and the one that I claimed ended up being a rooster. As far as claimed, I mean made it our favorite. But Tikka really, Tim says, oh, I'll name her, and so he named her after his favorite food, tikka masala. So that's where she got her name. But she just kind of, you know, was just part of the flock, but she didn't really get any extra attention like some of the others did. And then one day, when she was just at the beginning of her laying time when she was just starting to for the first time. Like a lot of chickens, she was searching for a place to lay her egg, and she didn't want to lay it in the coop. And she ended up behind this shed. And this shed, I'll show you, just has a little wedge space right there between the house and the shed, the back of the shed wall. And she ended up in there, and I think she kind of forced her way back and just kept forcing her way back until she got wedged. And then she tried to get herself back out, and in the process turned herself upside down, but still couldn't get out. I don't know how long she was back there, but I always kind of counted the chickens and kept track of them because I had to put them in bed at night because they wouldn't go on their own at first. And I couldn't find her, so we went searching for her, and we searched all through the yard, and I found her back there. And we kind of gingerly got her out. Tim used a broom and kind of slowly scooched her out, and as soon as she was close enough, I got a hold of her and I wrapped her up in my arms, and she was barely conscious. I don't know how much longer she would have had before she passed away. I held her for a while, and slowly she started to perk up a little bit, and she just sat on my lap for the longest time. And eventually she kind of got back to normal. We hydrated her, got her some nice food to eat that was, you know, soft, so that she could just eat it and not have to worry too much about crunching on it or pecking through it. She just could eat it, so she could just relax. And then I put her in the coop for the night, and from that moment on, she loved me and followed me around, would come over, and she used to hop up into my lap, and she would take a nap on my lap, and when she was done, she'd hop back down. Whenever she saw me come outside, she would come running over, and I would pick her up. And over the years, she just became my favorite. Eventually she got so old that she couldn't hop up in my lap anymore, so she would just come over and peck at my leg until I picked her up, and then she would take her nap. And so, you know, that's what we did on her last day. So I just had her take a nap on my lap, and then she just quietly passed during the night. I had her on a nice soft cushion, and she just went to sleep and didn't wake back up. A friend of mine who's a medical examiner says that it's like they fall asleep and wake up dead. Well, it's kind of what happened. And so, now there's definitely a loss in the flock. I learned a long time ago that chickens do grieve the loss of one of their flock members, and I am noticing some odd behavior in them. They're a little bit more flighty than normal, and they're a little bit anxious. I sat outside when I woke up this afternoon, and I sat on the patio, and they kind of all gathered around me, and they just sort of sat there, and I don't know, I could just feel that they were out of sorts. Hopefully in another day or two they'll be okay, but yeah, she was an important part of the flock. She was one of what we call the OGs, one of the original chickens. And she was definitely a mother to a lot of them. A little Sakura, who always got up underneath her, and just would sit underneath Tikka. I don't even know, she's over under the patio table. Yeah, I don't know how she's gonna take losing Tikka, but hopefully she'll bond with somebody else that way. I don't know. And that just leaves us with two, Chief and Mochi from the OGs. And you know, Chief is looking pretty good. Mochi is still laying, but she's a leghorn and they're pretty hardy. Chief isn't laying anymore and hasn't been for a long time. I think probably a year or more. But she's an Easter egger, and they don't lay for as long because they're a crossbreed. So yes, I am considering next spring getting another buff Orpington chick to replace Tikka, but I may not. I mean, there's no guarantee that she'll be as social. Orpingtons tend to be more social, but I also have one, Debbie, who is not the least bit interested in us. In fact, you see, as I approach her, she's kind of nervous. So, yeah, she's not interested in being a lap chicken. We'll see. So now that the weather is turning colder, it's time to start buttoning things up. Pull out some of the stuff from the garden, like the tomato vines and the cucumber vines, all of the nightshade vines that need to come out. I should not compost, so we'll get them burned. Just kind of button everything up. But we're leaving for a 2-week trip to Mexico that I am going to document. I'm going to have a video, probably a video series, because I'm going to document a bunch of different things, including how we prepare to go and little tips and things for traveling to Mexico. So watch for those. And in the meantime, well, hope everybody is getting all ready for winter, because now's the time to do it. It's coming. Thanks for watching.